Welcome to today's episode of CLCI Live, brought to you by the award-winning and ICF accredited school, Certified Life Coach Institute. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
It's another live, and we are going to, as always, we're going to guys join in the conversation, comments, all that good stuff. We want to hear from you. 100% we want to hear from you. So,
yes. Please participate. It makes the experience so much more fun for us to answer your questions.
What's today's topic?
Purpose. Cultivating your purpose. What is a purpose? What is doing something on purpose? What's the difference between purpose, goals, and meaning? Yeah. So what's purpose, everyone? What is having a purpose?
What is it?
I think a lot of people look for purpose. I know you didn't put that one out there, people looking for purpose, but purpose for me allows contentment. Yeah. Makes me feel productive, interactive, connecting.
What is someone, I guess, let me put it this way. What is somebody who is looking for a purpose? What do they look like? Somebody who doesn't have a purpose and is looking for someone or a purpose.
Wandering aimlessly.
Yeah. A little lost. First thing that came to my head was lost.
That person needs a coach, for sure.
Yeah. Someone to help them find their way, for sure. Yeah.
Lost, I think, is a really good metaphor to use because it's like baked. If you feel lost, it's baked in that like there's somewhere you have to be or go so that you're not lost anymore, that you're found and you've got your bearings and you're heading towards a direction. I don't know. What else?
I don't know.
I think a purpose to me is a driving factor or driving force other than what I'm actually doing sometimes. Like when I worked in customer service, my purpose was always just to be as loving and kind and compassionate and welcoming as I could, regardless of what was going on, what I was doing. If that person was being a jerk, it didn't matter. That was my driving purpose among anything.
Now, did you feel fulfilled by that?
Most days.
Uh-huh.
Was it meaningful?
Wait, what's the question?
Was it meaningful?
Oh, was it meaningful? Okay. Yeah, it was. Because sometimes the person on the receiving end of that really needed that. And it really changed their day or made their day. And it was something that was so small for me, but it was so impactful and big for them. So yes, it was meaningful.
I like how you said when you worked in customer service. Like that's not.
I know. I notated that as well.
Like I don't.
I'm gonna ask you, like, has that purpose changed since then?
No. Good call out, guys.
Go on, Brooke.
I was just going to ask. So we were talking about purpose, the importance of purpose. How does one cultivate one's purpose purposefully?
Maybe another question to like preempt your question, Brooke, is why does anybody care about having a purpose? Can I live my life without a purpose and be hunky dory?
Just be a drifter.
Be a drifter, a loner.
I think they've linked though, like having purpose, it equates to having a more fulfilling life, having a longer life, having, what was interesting for me that I noticed was something else that also comes up in this space is the ability to have awe, like to be awed by life becomes important, like to be able to be like, you know, and I think that this is what this is taking me to. Is there simplicity to purpose?
Yeah,
Purpose is a good term. you know.
As you were talking, I think, if one is jaded, you don't really have a connection to life. And when you're speaking about that purpose, it is about connection. It is about how I fit into the world, and that I matter as much as it is what I'm doing for others. So there's that reciprocal piece, I think, that's important to this topic of purpose.
And so some of the benefits of having a purpose, and I'm looking at the Psychology Today article,
Uh-huh.
what you actually get from having a purpose. Number 10 may be related to higher income over time. So if your purpose is to make money, then it's
Well,
like self-fulfilling. You'll make more money.
I think that what they mean by that is because you end up having higher income over time because you're doing something you love, and so there's a passion behind it. So you're more inclined to work harder at it. You're more inclined to, and so over a long period of time, I think that it equates to making more money. Yeah.
So number 9 is it makes you more likable. Turns out
You're
other
probably
people,
a happier person.
other people, I mean, okay, now I'm being a bit cynical.
Shocker.
In the interviews that I've had before at different companies and stuff like that, they always ask like, "What's your passion? What's your purpose in life?" And I've always wondered why do they? That's a stupid question. Why are you asking me that? In the moment I think it's a dumb question, but it's a very smart question because it shows to the people you're interviewing with that you have value, that you have drive, that you have long-term thinking going on, which is a desirable trait in really anybody. If you're looking to make friends or have a partner in life or raise a family, having a purpose is probably essential to all of that.
Well, it's also, I think it brings in caring and concern, right? As if you have a purpose, you're going to work towards that and have care and concern on how you get there. Purpose and passion, as Brooke was mentioning, the passion side of it, I think allows us, so there's good attachment to have that attachment. And so when an employer, I almost said employee, an employer is asking that, they want to know, as much as it is business, what's in your heart too.
So is number 9 why everybody hates on gypsies? Is that even the appropriate term anymore?
Well, no, that's not.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but that explains.
That's why I found other European people when I visited Europe did not like that ethnic group of people. Was their reasoning? Now I'm just making more blanket statements about Europeans, but I get what you're saying, Jerome. It's not politically correct though. Not that I've had any encounters with those people, the Romani. Number 8, though, it helps us be more even-keeled. So instead of being an emotional roller coaster, if you have a purpose, I don't know, you got something that will keep you balanced.
I think it's a focus situation, right? You're focused on something. So if you're focused on a greater purpose, all the little things become less important because you're like, okay, I can move this here, I can do this here, I can set this aside. It's not a huge deal because I have a greater purpose to serve. I have a greater focus to be, and if I get caught in the minutia, I'm not going to be as productive or capable of getting to that point. Right?
I think what you're talking about is a really big piece. Honestly, when people don't have a purpose, all the little things matter and blow up in different ways. That if they had a purpose and a direction that they're working towards, the small stuff. What is it? Don't sweat the small stuff. Was that book?
Yeah.
That small stuff becomes unimportant, and they recognize that it's, a blip in a moment, not life's experience. Just a moment. So I think that's a big piece why people strive for purpose, or it could be. It allows them that stability that was mentioned in that number, even keeled. Yeah.
Less reactive, right? Because someone's rude to you or whatever, and you don't have that driving factor, that purpose, you're going to probably be reactive to that. Whereas if you have that purpose, you have that ability to just take a breath and stay focused and keep pursuing your purpose.
Right. Well, and usually it's about the other person who in that rude place, not about you, right? It's in that race. So yeah, good point. What were you gonna say, Jerome?
I was going to say a part of that too is you're not always starting over on these new ventures, right? You're not continuously swaying from one point to another. You've got that foundation that you're building on, which can make someone come off as less impulsive, less reactive.
So you guys out there in the world, what gives you purpose? Jot some things in our chat so we can bounce and play around with what you feel purpose for.
I was wondering though. So, what is purpose? Like, what is an example of a purpose?
Passion. The passion to me just comes to the surface.
I say being a mom, I have passion with being a mom and a grandma. I'm already starting to get emotional. That just warms my heart.
To add to that, Lisa, because I'm sure some people are bad moms and bad grandmas. What can you add to being a mom and a grandma that's purposeful with like intent almost? That's what I think of with purpose. There's an intent behind it.
I don't know what you're asking me. Ask me
So
again.
what is your intent with being a grandma and a mom?
Oh, just to find the simple joy in their presence. And that it goes back to what Brooke was saying, it's the simplicity of things, not complicating something that wasn't complicated, right? Just keeping it simple and seeing the joy and journey that they're going through.
So I think there's a difference right there illustrated between what a purpose is and what a goal is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I would imagine, I don't know, I'm not a mom or a grandmother myself, but a lot of people are like, that's my goal in life is to be a mom or a grandma. And then once they check that off the list, then they don't have anything else to really do after that.
Oh, this is like one of those that are ever flowing, right?
Yeah. What Lisa described though was a purpose. There's something, it's like an ongoing thing with what you're getting out of and what you're doing with being a grandmother and a mother. It's not just something you check off the list and then you find your next goal.
Yeah. And so is coaching. I find that when I'm in working with my clients, my couples, I have that same joy and journey in the experience with them as well. Even if they're not in a good spot, it's not about that. It's about the ability to give. I think give
service.
That's active service. Yeah.
Yeah, that ties into coaching because I know I'm not exactly sure what you would call this specific type of coach, but kind of what Anthony was talking about, how there are those who are grandmothers and moms. Once those kidlings grow up and they don't no longer need them as often. I know we have had a few coaches come through and that they've selected that niche as finding that new purpose, working with the coach that can help you find that new purpose. And this probably goes back to the question that we asked earlier: is how do you cultivate that purpose? And I think a lot of that has to do with experience. You've got to experience new things before
and experiment.
That is, yep.
Would it be fair to call purpose meaning?
We call it what?
Would it be fair to call purpose meaning?
So in what you shared, the podcast, what was it called?
Hidden Brain
episode. Yeah. So I'm not saying I agree with this, and maybe you guys disagree, but they make a distinction between meaning and purpose, where meaning is something you do in retrospect. So an event that happened in the past is meaningful. It has meaning. Whereas purpose is something you look towards in the future. It's something you intend to do or is your guiding sort of
the carrot.
Yeah, the carrot on the stick that keeps you going. What makes you wake up in the morning and carry on with life. That's your purpose.
I think of it as soul food, kind of. you know, it's what, like, it's the thing that like you said, keeps you going. It gives you the energy to be consistent, maybe when it's hard, to, because you're like, no, this is I'm going through this and it's difficult, or whatever, but ultimately I'm doing this now so that later I can, because it's going to help me fulfill this purpose, because I know what it's doing is feeding my soul. It's um I think having that purpose is what will keep us going even when it's hard, and also what keeps our eye on the reward and able to be sort of consistent and strong through when it's not always easy. I think without the purpose, it's easy to be like, "Meh, I'm out. Screw this." Whatever.
Well, I think without purpose, it's distracting because you can get lost in the muck of things versus that higher purpose, that higher connection that we have. So yeah.
I think I maybe want to like. There's a trap there where I can think of an example where you have purpose, but it's not meaningful, and that's a bad place to be. Now I'm starting to talk like Jordan Peterson.
It's like
What's your example?
like dream versus duty kind of thing.
I immediately thought, for some reason, of Ebenezer Scrooge. We all know Scrooge.
Yeah.
His purpose in life was to make a lot of money and be a wealthy person, and it wasn't like a goal where he's like, I need to get $5. Like his purpose really was to just be wealthy. As it turns out in the story, none of it had any meaning, though. It was all meaningless.
That's what. Is Scrooge a real human character, like a whole human character? Like, I would argue that Scrooge
okay, I'll say yes.
Two-dimensional until the end of the story.
But Dickens did base it off of real people he knew at the time. He based it off real people and he was trying to like give a moral at the end. I'm not saying that it's necessarily true, but I can think of an example where your life has purpose, but it does not have meaning, and that's a bad thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have other examples where that.
I mean, you could say if we're talking purpose, when we say purpose, like your purpose, my purpose is to, let's say you have a lot of people that are depending on you or something, and so you're getting up, and that's what your driving force is, but you're feeding others, but not feeding your own soul, essentially. That could be very draining, right? And I think as coaches, this really brings into the concept of emotional relevance. Is really another word for what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Is when we distill down with a client what your values are, who you are, what's most important to you, and then what you want, and then we connect them with that why. That why is that purpose moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we cultivate it?
I was just as you were saying that, I was just thinking that question in that sense of if I know what my purpose is, but I don't know what my emotional relevance to it is, that's a conundrum as well. So I might already have the goal, the purpose of moving towards it, but what is my connection to it as an opposite side of things? So
I would,
yeah.
Do you guys have a purpose? Like, is there something that, I mean, there's something that gets me up, and I mean, when I know when I'm in like my good zone, I'm a creative, and I like to be in a space of, I want to be creating the rest of my life, like in whatever form that comes. I want to be creating. Like, that's what gets my engine going. That's what, like, you know what I mean? Is that I know I'm creating, if I'm in this space of creation. And that can take a variety of forms, right? And I love that. I mean, that's really like a Zen, I'm in the pocket moment is when I'm being creative. And that doesn't just mean drawing or painting, or that you can be creative in business. You can be creative. There's ways to be creative, multitude of ways to be creative. And that's really what my purpose is. I feel like I was put on this earth to create things. Darn it. And that drives me. That will absolutely drive me. 100% will. Yeah.
What about the rest of you?
Right, connecting is the thing that really does it for me too. When I have intimate conversations with someone and that deeper place that we can go, that does it for me too.
Yeah, purpose for me at the moment, I feel like is being there for my people, for the people that I love. You know, my family, my friends, you guys. That gets me going. That keeps me going. Even when I'm drained, at the end of the day, if I get a phone call from my sister, I'm gonna answer, and I'll spend an hour on the phone with her because her making me or her being happy makes me happy and fulfills me. So.
Aww.
Jen,
Anthony, what's your purpose? No, you
I
go.
said your name first.
Okay, fine. I have a lot of purposes actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm here to love. I'm here to inspire and empower. I'm here to evolve and learn and grow. And I'm here to seek, just continually seek.
Yeah.
That's a lot of purposes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've never really struggled with this. Like I've always had something, even when things are hard for me, like I'm like good. Like I've always got something, like my mind just goes to what is this for? And I think we've talked about this before, but like that thought of, life is happening to me versus life is happening for me, or I am happening to life. Like my brain is wired that way, not it's happening to me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Anthony, you're up.
You guys are not going to like this answer.
Like, I don't have a purpose.
I don't have a purpose. I don't have a purpose. But that doesn't really bother me, though. At least I don't think it does. Maybe the therapists watching this are going to be like,
Yeah, we'll get you. We'll get you sometime.
So can you tell us what it's like? What is it like to do life without a purpose?
I wake up in the morning and I'm sitting there in bed and I debate whether or not to get up or just lay there. And I'm doing an analogy of a guy called Albert Camus, which is a bit more not safe for work analogy, but it's essentially the same. I can either lay in bed, do nothing, wither away, and eventually starve to death, or I can get up and do something. And I choose to get up and do something because it's at least more interesting than doing nothing. It's a very short-sighted purpose if you want to say it's a purpose, which is to keep myself entertained and stable and healthy until the day I die. Again, short-sighted, not really meaningful, but it doesn't bother me necessarily. That's also not to say I don't have goals and I don't have things I aspire to, but I don't really find them really meaningful. For example, I would like to eventually write a book or a collection of short stories. But in my mind, it's completely arbitrary that I like those things in the first place. In some other world, I could have been like Brooke, who liked to do art instead, or I could have been a family man.
I also like to write, so I don't know.
Brooke also likes to write, but I'm just giving examples out there. It's kind of hard to describe what not having a purpose is like, but I know that it doesn't bother me and it doesn't feel like I'm lost.
What's interesting though is I think that maybe your purpose has an association with it, because you were saying in another world I could have been this, or could have been this, or I could have been this. So what's interesting about that is, do you believe you were destined to be who you are now?
Oh, you're opening up a whole nother can of worms. So yes, I am if you want to get very technical with the term, a hard determinist, which essentially means, everybody was destined to be who they were, and free will is kind of not there. It's like I said, I'm opening a can of worms that I don't want to derail the conversation, but it doesn't bother me that I'm the way that I am. And if it ever did bother me, then I think I would change that because it bothered me.
So curious question before you go on. What about connection? Like connection to your mom? Does that
They're there.
and
It's there.
feel purposeful with the connection with your mom? Maybe it's a different way of using the word purpose.
What do you mean?
So in connecting with someone, whether it's mom, significant other, someone, is there purpose to that?
I guess the purpose is to maintain the connection and grow it in the future. But I never really got to determine that in the first place, though. So
I too. When you're done.
what I'm trying to get at is I love my mom. The connection is there, but I can't help that was that way in the first place.
But is that part of what purpose is? It has to be either arbitrary or it's set up.
So I think maybe another way to think about it is making connections with new people.
Okay.
I was given the connection with my mother and my family, before I could even, when I was a little kid, before I was born. Those already existed. If I moved to a new city and wanted to make new friends, there's a purpose right there. That requires me to do things above and beyond just maintaining the status quo, which I don't think I do with my family. I think I try to at least be what is considered a good son and loving and there for them.
Why do you do that? Why do you do that?
It's what I feel like doing. There's no intent behind it. That's just the way I am.
Where does it come from, though?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Okay. Yeah.
It's what I feel like doing. And then also in that morning moment where you can either lay in bed or get up, what is that? You said that's not free will, right?
I'd say that's also a feeling. But like I said, in a different world, I could have been, a son who just didn't give a crap at all. But I wasn't raised to be that way. I wasn't, I had a good childhood. So I'm a different way, and that's the way that I feel like doing things. There's no really intent behind it or ultimate purpose guiding me.
So what guides you to get up in the morning? Because you don't have to.
Because I'd rather get up in the morning.
That it was more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It was more interesting.
So is the purpose, okay, well, we're just working this. Is the purpose because it's more interesting allows you to make that decision?
Brooke.
What does interesting give you?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay, now we're coaching me. Interesting.
Now we're trying to understand you. Plain and
I'm trying to articulate what is just normal to me. It's
I already would know this. I've had this conversation with Anthony before.
Yeah, this is like taking a fish out of water when it doesn't realize it's in water, and then trying to describe to other people what it's like being in water. Mm-hmm. So interesting to me alleviates the suffering of boredom. I would rather be participating in activities, even activities I'd rather not be doing under normal situations than to be bored.
Ooh. What about boredom is it that you don't like?
It feels like a waste of energy. It feels like I should be doing something, but I'm not doing anything, or nothing's holding my attention. So if I'm sitting there bored, I'm wanting to do something, but I don't know what it is. And so I'll do things to direct that energy. Then I don't think about it, and I'm not bored anymore. Then it's just a question of what would I rather be doing among the available choices in front of me.
You used a word should, What makes you think you should be doing something?
So when I said I feel like I should be doing something, is I've got a certain amount of either mental or physical energy that wants to be expended doing something, um, but there's no outlet for it.
So I have a question. This is
Mhm.
Grill Anthony moment. Now, I feel like, and maybe it's just my interpretation, you're a really kind soul who loves deep, important conversation. What about the part of Anthony? Is there a part of Anthony that likes giving?
Yeah, I'd say so. But again, like I like giving when it also suits me to give. There's now we're really pulling apart the psychology here. Um, we've talked about like I think we talked about this in a different live about like the benefits of giving.
Yeah.
Benefits you yourself whenever you give somebody, even if it's not like completely material. So I'm not doing like you scratch my back, I scratch your back thing, but it does feel good to give to people, even though you know during the time I'm also doing this to make myself feel good.
What do you want?
With like right now, in general, in the future, I know you're sitting in the silence with me. What do I want? I'd like to eat food because I'm hungry, and I'd also like to lose weight because I'm packing on the pounds a little bit.
What do you want?
That's what I want.
You want food and you want to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Short term, long term. I want to eventually write a collection of short stories. The reason why I want that is not so clear to me.
Oh, I thought Lisa was going to say something when she was sneezing. So the reason why you want to write short stories, but the reason why you want to is not clear to you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to explore the reason?
I don't think it's important to him.
I don't think the reason is important to like.
Yeah,
I
don't think it's important to him.
Well, let's bring this up. Like, have you written the short stories?
Yes.
You have written the story, all the short.
Well, no, not the short stories I intend to write. I have written short stories in the past.
I'm asking, have you achieved this goal of yours?
No.
So I'm kind of pulling from this part of what you're experiencing and sharing with us is that you don't overthink things.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not overthinking it.
But I do. You have not written them.
Yeah.
Do you think that if you knew the reason why, and I'm feeding you on this, so I should not be asking this at all in this way.
Yeah.
This is the worst way to ask this question. It's bad coaching 101. Do you think that if you knew the reason why, you might be more motivated to work towards that goal?
If I'm being honest, I think the opposite is true.
Yeah.
I think if I knew the reason why, I would just not even bother ever writing the story in the first place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I honestly think if I found out the reason why, then it would be pointless for me to write the stories in the first place.
Because you're already there.
Because I'd already be there. So I think I would need to write the stories to figure out why I'm writing the stories. And then in retrospect, after I've done it, find out it was either completely meaningless or it was fruitful and, had meaning. But I think if I were to find that out beforehand, I just wouldn't have written the stories in the first place.
So when you look back at your life,
Yeah.
have you done things purposefully?
Yes.
Give me an example.
You caught me off guard there. So now I think I might have just lied to you and didn't know I was lying to you. I can actually think hard about
okay.
that. Have I ever done something purposefully? So this is going back to my earlier college years. Going to college, intending on getting a math degree, which would eventually lead to a chemistry degree, which would eventually lead me landing a job either as a chemist or in material science, whatever. It kind of got fuzzy after that, but I think that just was because I was early in college and drinking and partying more than I should. But the purpose of me going to college was so that I could eventually get a career in the sciences and have a nice job and make lots of money and have a future that seemed worthwhile and provided me the means of, I don't know, having a lot of money and being a smart guy who went to college. That was the purpose back then, and going to college purposefully was as an example I can think of.
There's so many things I could ask around that, but I'm not, because I'm like, we've been putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
But
It's really coaching at that point.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to articulate with this whole me letting you guys pick apart my brain is that sometimes not having a purpose is okay. Because I found the events in my life leading up to this moment meaningful and something I could take away and learn from it, and I could inform my future actions and decisions so I can make wise choices with what I want to do in the future in the immediate moment.
Is it simply a difference of vocabulary words? I mean, because what you've described is said as well.
It is, but like I'm okay with not having the purpose. What makes that okay is that things are meaningful.
Yeah.
If I had a purpose and then I found out it was not meaningful, that would be a disaster. If I ended up like Scrooge and I was like in my 90s, I thought I had a purpose, and then lo and behold, I wasted my entire life for something that had no meaning. That would sound horrible.
Yeah.
Having no purpose and no meaning, I don't know what that would look like. It would probably be a dead person or someone who doesn't exist.
You said, though, that your past experiences guide the way you make choices today, right? Because from what you've learned, if things have had meaning, you're going to make choices so that your life will remain meaningful to you when you reflect back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that's not really my intent. They just are meaningful. I don't know if I can help that. They just are meaningful. I reflect on it, and then if a choice ever comes up where I have to think about, in the long term, then I can sort of ruminate on that and then make a choice.
So intentional meaning is really what I'm pulling from what you're saying. You have, when things come up, you have an intention to make a choice. The choice is to have it be meaningful, and that I think is what you're saying.
I think so.
Yeah.
Where I'm not coming up with a purpose as in this is the purpose for my life. I'm cultivating this purpose and going towards it. Because to me, it seems like any purpose you come up with is almost arbitrary, is almost as good as any other purpose. For the sake of the psychology today, what are the 10 things you get out of having a purpose? If my goals were to live a longer life, not have dementia in my old age, have people like me, make more money over time, what's number one? Experience more hope, optimism, and life satisfaction. If those things were my goal, then sure, having a life purpose is a way to, cultivate those goals, and it'd be good to cultivate a purpose. But I'm not bothered to do that. But some of our clients as coaches might feel very bothered, that they feel lost, that they don't have a purpose, or maybe the purpose they thought they had got shaken, like when we talked about with mothers whose children have flown the nest and now they don't know what to do with themselves. It's something coaches encounter all the time with clients.
Sure.
Is people who feel lost and they need a purpose.
I'm still ruminating on what you shared a few moments ago. Sorry, stuck there, not even in coaching. And we should be talking about coaching. But
Yeah, I'm trying to get us back on track with the.
It feels like Anthony just reverse engineers his life. Like,
but I think where I'm tapping into identification of some of what he's sharing is part of coaching as well, in the sense, not the identification, but helping, if I'm in a coaching place and I'm coaching somebody like Anthony, it's helping them understand who they are and what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And as he's speaking, I don't set out to have, I don't think about, here's the goal of me being in purpose. It happens. And I think that's kind of what I'm hearing Anthony say as I'm reflecting on my own stuff and in his sharing. It's when it shows up, it becomes an intentional direction and a choice that gives it meaning. And to really say a purpose would be future thinking, and that's not what he's doing. And I think that's true about many people. We don't need to have that future thinking. It's knowing how to navigate what's in front of them.
Mhm.
Is that?
That sounds like it's on the money. I'm not really overly concerned about my future at the moment. And the things I am concerned about, I am taking steps to change
Yeah.
and fix. But that's more of a goal to accomplish some sort of checkbox. It's not like a purpose, like, the purposes that you guys said that get you up in the morning.
Yeah.
Like a foundational purpose.
Yeah, which I'm not a believer in either foundational purposes or meanings. You have to create your meaning and create your purpose no matter what, in every situation. That's my personal opinion. That might not be everyone's opinion because, of course, there are plenty of people.
but if you're a determinist,
yeah,
wouldn't it also be predetermined what your purpose is then?
yes,
So didn't you just contradict yourself?
it would be determined that you would think that's the purpose.
You're talking on a more meta level.
Yes, I'm talking on like a more metaphysical level, which was why I was going to bring up people with religions. They believe, at least the church I went to, believed you had a purpose that was given to you before you were born.
Yeah.
Lots of religions believe that, and it also makes life meaningful because meaning is only something you have in retrospect. For where I come from, there's nothing in retrospect after living. After you die, there's nothing after that. So life is not meaningful in that general sense. But to somebody who may be religious, then life is extremely meaningful because it determines what happens after, you die. That's just one other kind of people's opinions on that. My opinion is that's not the case. You have to either create your own purposes and meanings to be able to get through life until you die. Which is a good thing. It's a freeing thing for a lot of people because that means you can kind of set aside the crap that was fed to you, or maybe that you don't agree with, and you're able to find the things that are meaningful to you and create your own purposes, which is what this whole live is about, is cultivating your purpose.
So evolving purposes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This has been Anthony.
It would also naturally, we would naturally assume or say, or that presume, as it were, that a purpose would evolve because we as a human being evolve. When I'm 5 years old, and I want to grow up and be a fireman or what have you. I mean, that often that changes, right? I mean, we're very much different from who I was when I was 10, when I was 20, when I was 30 until now. I mean, page. And I would say for sure my purpose has evolved in each of those, in each period or phase of my life.
Purpose or meaning?
My meaning, I think meaning for me has been more consistent and purpose has changed. I don't know though. No. Okay, so if I'm thinking about it, I think meaning is, for me, to find meaning in something, it just means I have to learn from it, or I have to be in it, you know what I mean? Be in that flow, be mindful, there's like just this, it's like there's not a word for it. I can almost not put a word to it. It's like a feeling for me. It's not something I can articulate.
Is it a connection? I guess maybe is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I would say I am connected to something in some way, and whatever it is, it's like if it had meaning, it means that it fulfilled me in some capacity. It fed my soul, right? That's the best. I mean, it's like I think of it as like being in the pocket, or being, in those moments where you just feel like, this is where I am, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. There's no, and it's like just feeling of
you said it. You said flow. It's a flow state.
It's a flow. Yeah, when you're in it and you feel like, and then you come out of it, you're like, man, that was productive. That was good. That was, yes, that made me feel like my life was better because of it today. That in my experience, and in many ways, Anthony, you're right. It's when you reflect back, there's those moments where like, God, that was awesome. You know what I mean? Gosh, that was freaking cool. And we want more of that, right? We crave that. We do. We crave that. So then we start to guide our lives in the directions where we feel like we'll find more of that fulfillment, more of that feeling where we can look back and go, well, that was worthwhile. That wasn't a big old waste.
And that kind of goes back into, I think, what Anthony was saying. It's making a choice based on what shows up in front of you.
Anthony, you're brilliant.
I said I know.
Yes, we lip read. That was easy to read. And I think, purpose and mindfulness is what we've come to learn about. Mindfulness is really what we're talking about, is mindfulness as we describe what purpose is in this moment. Our clients are going to look at those word choices differently, and to be open to their perception when we're coaching with them on what that is. But this is that deeper conversation to have with your client, so the client really is knowing what they're choosing, and so that they're walking their talk and they're walking their walk, as Jen was saying, flow. They're in that flow state. And is it purposeful? Is it, whatever word choice is appropriate? That's what we're working and helping the clients achieve as well.
I think there's a Dan quote. Can I do a Dan quote?
Yes.
He's like the difference between a human doing and a human being. And like it's like the difference between like when you're just doing, even though doing the do can be meaningful, it can, but there's a difference when you take that pause and you like bring that awareness around, like, oh, I'm in this moment, I'm present, right? I'm enjoying myself. This is an awesome, and being able to have that awareness of like, that's an awesome moment, and you just feel it. It's like it's that like, this is a good place, like this is. And that's when you're not really, that's when you're not focused in the do, and you're getting the chance to actually like sort of be
the capital B. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add to this as well. This is not my original idea, but to add to Dan's quote, human being versus human becoming. So that's where there's an attention piece added to that. I'm not going to attribute it to anybody, but it's definitely not my idea. That becoming.
Did we go over what else is on the list? Improve.
We stopped, I think, at like 8.
Yeah.
So
we were trying to figure out
back to number 7.
Cultivate a life purpose, but then Anthony said no reason to. So
And then we're now
It's different for everybody. I can't
definitely.
for people watching, I cannot guarantee in the future that I will have the same answer like a year from now or 10 years from now.
Yeah.
There could be a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm done not having a purpose. I'm ready to have a purpose now.
I reserve the right to change at any moment.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I can be whoever I want at any time. Okay, so
I don't have any intention of changing that, but that's not to say that won't change in the future.
Yeah.
Number 7 helps our brains resist aging and dementia. That's what purpose is good for.
I wonder how that works or why.
It says right here. It doesn't actually really say why.
Well, I think it provides them something to do so that their brain is focused and has the ability to focus in on something and keep it active.
Yeah, because I think, like, I know, like, doing crossword puzzles will help prevent dementia, but I understand the reason why.
The same reason, because you're working towards whatever it is.
Your focus, the hyper focus kind of thing again.
Yeah.
Similar to number 6 is helping us live longer.
Being through life, yeah.
And so it helps control previous conditions, depression symptoms, and income, which feeds into the earlier thing. You'll make more money if you have a purpose. If you have more money, you'll end up living longer as well.
So it's cyclical.
It's a bit cyclical. Number 5, and this is more of the same thing, it improves your health. You have lower risks of heart attack, stroke, cardiovascular disease, and sleep disorders.
Less stress, probably. That's why.
Yeah.
Too stress.
Number 4, improves academic success. This is probably why I didn't continue with the math
Because
thing.
you had no purpose.
No purpose. Number 3.
Some of their reasons on here are not very in depth, but yes.
The Hidden Brain podcast goes into detail on the reasons.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I'm gonna listen to that now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that.
Number 3 is increased work satisfaction and success.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to assume this is only if you work a job that is aligned with your purpose.
Yeah.
I've worked jobs that were not aligned with my purpose at the time, and it was soul crushing.
Yeah, I've had soul crushing jobs too.
Yeah.
And I loved them. I mean,
I've had frivolous jobs though that were just fun. Like that I knew, like I used to work at Ren Fair. I knew that was never going to be a long term, but it was just fun. Like it was just like, this is a great experience. It's fun to be around people, meet new people, and I'm having fun just being a giant dork. So like, that is the purpose, I guess, for myself. Is that which I guess that's like connection, freedom, like just being able to release this quirky side of myself. Yeah.
The creativity that you like. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I've worked terrible jobs and I've been able to find flow states in those jobs.
Yeah.
Like I remember one job specifically in retail when we would process shipment and we would put music on and we would talk and we would just jam out and we would just bond and have like the best time. It would feel like a party. And then we would just burn product through and we would like crush our goals and stuff and we were having the best time. But none of us really liked the job. We were there creating connection and having fun. So but
certainly not Amazon you were working at, because they did not allow me to play music.
Oh, that's
couldn't do that for long. Yeah, that was my first job.
Number 2, it protects us from the negative effects of stressful events.
That's resilience, right? I mean,
this is kind of like the resilience bit, the anti-fragile bit, and like the treadmill. You're able to more easily bounce back to your natural state, and stressful things don't have as much of an effect on you if you've got a purpose. And finally, to round it all off, you get to experience more hope, optimism, and life satisfaction.
And by the way, I think that hope and possibility is the key to life. You know, like I think it's life draining when you lose hope and possibility. Obviously, I'm covered in cat hair, by the way.
The end of that Hidden Brain podcast talks about Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, and purpose. And it's really good.
Man's Search for Meaning, a highly recommended book. At least it's been recommended to me a lot. There was something else in that Hidden Brain podcast, but it just escaped my mind.
There's
Should
a
we
lot.
put it, since we're referring to it, should we put it in the chat here?
Yeah, we can put it in
Yeah,
the chat.
definitely. It's a good one.
So I know we don't have a lot of time left, but how do we, is it even our job to help our clients cultivate purpose, or is that something they need to come to us for?
Yeah.
I think they have to come to you.
We can't define it for them. They have to tell us what they want.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Would it be useful as a coach then to, if they've got goals, they got a lot of goals, would it be a useful question as a coach then to say, what is the purpose of this goal?
Well, if there's somebody like you and that word choice is not appropriate, no.
Mm-hmm.
But like for Jen, maybe that word choice works. Yes. So it's getting to know your client.
Yeah.
When they say, that's not something I want, then help them find their words, and there's giving them that space to define what it means to them.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is like included in almost every coaching session. We just don't call it what your purpose is. We say a lot of different other terms around it, such as emotional anchoring or asking, what does this goal do for you?
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like for you once you achieve this goal? Then clients start to play around with purpose, and then maybe from there you can investigate further.
It's really also, I think one of the things that goes hand in hand in this is values exploration. Like, I think that's an important tool that helps people sort of, if somebody's not identifying their purpose, whittling down to that values moment where they figure out, okay, what are my values? What is important to me? Is it being hardworking? Is it being a community member? Or, whatever it may be, but we all have certain things that are very important to us as people that we do, that are our core value system, essentially. And I think that in this space, getting in touch with that and knowing sort of what your values are can help you align yourself to be in a space where you're working in not having incongruity, right? Because I think that it's when we're not aligning with our values that we feel like we're that icky feeling, like we're not fulfilling our purpose, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. And I think that part of it's kind of very important. So for while Anthony does not have a purpose, he may have values. Like he may find that being hardworking is important, or he may find that certain things are important to him, and so he probably makes his choices so that they align with the things that he likes or respects about himself or others. So
I don't even know if it's that like conscious of a choice. I'm just I feel like I naturally gravitate to what I like. I don't even, okay, now is a whole conversation, but I think people's values are better shown with what they're naturally inclined to do, rather than, okay, here's my value, now I have to achieve that value.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Your values are what you are just always inclined to do, and that shows what you value.
But then what happens is some people will find themselves in situations where they're not doing things that are falling in their value system, and that's when they really tend to feel out of whack, like and upset.
Or they don't like their values. They don't like that they value certain things rather than other things, and they would like to change that.
I would do an exploration with them deeper on that too.
I'm thinking, the thing that came to mind was like people pleasers.
Yes.
Like they value other people and they feel like they should value themselves more, but that's always their tendency.
So what I think as we draw different bits of our human psyche that come into play, nothing stands alone, right? Nothing is all by itself. And we only have core values, or we only have
meaning and purpose. Or
yeah. Thank you. I'm lacking sleep like a lot. Words are hard.
Words are hard. Yes. Oh, I know how that goes. That's like one of my favorite phrases in the world. Words are hard.
Jerome, what are you getting from today's experience?
also a little bit tired, just like you, Lisa. But I think, yeah, ultimately what you're mentioning is we've kind of been like chasing our tails trying to figure out what it is to, what specific word defines what particular junction of like this whole realm of life purpose is. And I think they all complement each other. There's pieces and bits of it just kind of spread everywhere that culminate ultimately, I guess, in, again, that realm of what a life purpose is. Not an easy question. I don't think really, just kind of like with Anthony and Jen, you mentioned this. I don't know if I wake up and I aspire to create a life purpose. It just happens to me. And I don't know, maybe that's because I'm fortunate. I have a great family. I have people around me that I really care about. And again, that plays to what I see my life purpose as. But it's not something I wake up and just, say, I'm going to start working on that life purpose of mine. It just kind of happens to me, and it is what fuels me and keeps me sane and happy.
I would agree with that. I don't have an intentional direction either.
I think I've realized in this conversation that there's the foundational purpose, which I mentioned earlier, which is love, evolution, connection, right? But then there's also the evolving purposes, which can change any day. So that's been a unique, interesting, distinguishing factor now that I'm realizing, like, even when I don't have that purpose, sometimes, like, say there is a day when I wake up and I just don't want to do it. I'm just like, ugh, not today. I just want to go back to bed. I still have a foundational purpose that drives me. This is an interesting conversation. I really appreciate, Anthony, you sharing as much as you did.
Thank you.
Because your brain is very interesting, and it's helping me understand a different type. Like, you're very interesting. I wonder sometimes, like, what drives you, and so I really appreciate you sharing today. Like,
there's nobody in the driver's seat. We found out there's nothing going on up here.
There's a wheel, but there's no handles.
In mindfulness, that's what we're supposed to supposedly work towards achieving in meditation, right? To find that inner balance. It's not about overthinking things. So definitely appreciate your sharing today. Thanks, Anthony.
I don't know if I tried my best to articulate what actually goes on up here. I don't know if I did that good of a job.
I think there's more to explore, because the way you utilize words often is similar to the concepts, but not the same exactly. So having that ability to have someone whose really language is different and what we're talking about is a benefit. So thank you.
And to be fair, we did as the ground rules in the beginning of this whole live, like, we referred to the hidden brain episode for their meanings of purpose and meaningful, and I just kind of stuck with that. Your client's going to have completely different meanings, so just ask them. Ask questions.
Are we ready to sign off? Is it that time?
Yep.
At least get some rest, and Jerome get some rest.
I gotta go have a photo shoot really quickly, but
oh, that's why you look so handsome.
No. I mean, for the thumbnell. This is what I want to make sure the shirt is definitely on one of the thumbnails we have.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice shirt.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, share, comment. Come visit us in our classes. We have an amazing experience. Each of the levels are 3 days, and it's such a journey. Come join us. Thank you for showing up.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Once again, this is brought to you by Certified Life Coach Institute. We're an ICF accredited school who certifies our life coaches in 3-day online intensive courses. In addition to other podcast episodes, feel free to check us out every Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube or Facebook for our CLCI Lives, where we get together and discuss various topics that are centered around sharpening your skills so you can become a better certified life coach. For more information, feel free to visit us at CertifiedLifeCoachInstitute.com. Until next time, be well.